You're listening to Community Health Watch on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, New Haven's home for community radio. Insightful conversations, impactful ideas, and voices shaping our community and beyond. Let's begin the dialogue.
Good morning and welcome to the Community Watch Show, Health Watch Show. Our topic today, we're taking a deep dive into dermatology, healthy hair, healthy scalp, and more. I'm Leroy Odinga Perry, and my co-host is the Reverend Dr. Elvin Clayton, and we're here this morning with Dr. Starling Haynes, an MD, Assistant Professor of Dermatology, and we just welcome you, and so glad you could be with us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, ma'am. So we're gonna jump right into the show. We'd like to know some things that not common knowledge for most of us, but is definitely something that is of interest to us. Our discussion is on hair and scalp health, which is a critical aspect of overall well-being, often overlooked in the broader discussion of dermatology. Common issues such as hair loss, scalp condition can significantly affect a person's self-esteem and quality of life. And we're so glad that you could be here with us to deep dive through this so that we can get a better understanding of it.
I'm excited to chat with you all.
All right. So what inspired you to become a dermatologist and to focus on hair and scalp health?
Well, that's a really good question. So when I was in 6th grade, my mom was taking me to Disney World, and she was just super excited about taking me, but my hair wasn't done. And so she ended up putting some braids in the night before, but it was almost like 3 o'clock in the morning, so she had to do it really fast. She ended up doing some things to my hair that, with glue and some perms while braiding my hair, that ended up breaking my hair off when I came back. And it was before that time, I had a really great overall sense of myself with my own hair. My hair was natural, and it was like, just something normal about, just me as a person. But after I lost my hair, it really opened my eyes to, self-esteem and just, critically thinking about your own hair in the space of this country. Especially when I saw my mom's hair and my sister's hair and then my aunt's hair, it kind of really opened my eyes to the fact that hair loss is very rampant in our community. And it's unfortunate that we don't really even acknowledge it or even do anything about it. It's just something it is what it is, and we're just expected to deal with it and just cover our heads with either wraps or wigs and such, and just to let it be. So it was around that time that I said, you know what, I think that there needs to be something done about this, and it inspired me to want to do research on hair and just to overall help Black women with their hair. I didn't know that I could be a dermatologist by doing that, but as I went into college and things like that, I looked into see what other kinds of doctors I could be. And then when I figured out that dermatologists were doctors of skin, nails, and hair, I kind of felt like it was just like the aha moment for me. Like, this is something I always wanted to look into. And then as I got more involved with the field, I saw that there was a paucity of research that was being done on Black women, and not a lot of people that focused in on Afro-textured hair or even diseases pertinent to Black women and Black men.
I was going to say, it's so interesting that you chose this field, because we never associated hair loss or scalp with dermatology.
I didn't either.
It's like Madam C.J. Walker. We know that this is one of her things that made her famous.
Yeah.
Then Chris Rock's thing on good hair or movie Good Hair. But it never dawned on any of us that we could go to a dermatologist, because the commercials and the advertisements about hair and hair supplements and being a part of the hair clubs that do the hair I don't know what it's called. It's not weaving, but when they have hair replacements.
Yeah.
But we never really thought that we could go to a dermatologist
Yeah. And
to
I'm
get that.
sorry.
Yeah. No, just amazing.
And it wasn't until recently that, there has been a bigger focus on these issues in Black hair. Maybe about 20, 30 years ago, there wasn't really anything that people could do about hair loss in our community. But now that there's more people that are looking into that and actually doing the research, there's so many different avenues for treatment that are available.
Yeah. I listen. I've been online myself for a couple of things. The vitamin supplements and the sprays that people have, and they tell you rosemary. I mean, there's all these natural forms, but to have a person with your knowledge who can help us navigate through some of the myths and some of the crazy commercials that lead people just to spend their money, endless money that they don't have, trying to look good and feel good. I think that's so important. So, what are some of the most common hair or scalp conditions you see in your clinic?
So the most common one I see in a lot of Black women is called central centrifugal cicatricial alopecia, or CCCA for short.
Mhm.
And this probably makes up probably 70 to 80% of the hair loss patients in Black women that I see. And it's very common in our community. It starts off in the center of the scalp and it starts to spread out in this centrifugal pattern, and it leads to scarring and complete and total loss of the hair follicle if left untreated. We don't exactly know what causes it, but from what we've seen, there is a possibility of a genetic predisposition for it. There's been some mutations that we've been able to see that are associated within some families. But then, previously, it was thought to be due to like hot combs and perms and things of that nature. The likelihood is that it's a combination of both. You just have a predetermined genetic predisposition, and then there's an insult to your scalp, or something happens to your scalp that causes this inflammatory cascade to start and lead to the scarring that happens. So that's one. But most commonly, even just in general for everyone, I see seborrheic dermatitis, which is just dandruff for everybody. And so there is a lot of people that just have an itchy, scaly scalp and not really knowing what to do with it, or a lot of the over-the-counter medicines don't really work for them. So if that's the case, then there's sometimes that we can use some things that are more prescription based, higher dose steroids and higher dose antifungals to help get that cleared up for folks. You don't have to live with the scaling and the itching of the scalp. Some other things that we can see on the scalp is just generally like breakage too, especially in our community. So what that means is just like the hair is breaking from the ends rather than falling out from the scalp. And that happens a lot for our community because our hair is curly. So when it's curly, it doesn't hold moisture as well as a lot of different hair types. And so because of that, it leads to dryness more often. And also because of its curliness, the natural oils from our top of our scalp aren't able to get to the ends of our hair. So that leads to further breakages as well. So that's something that we're still trying to figure out more so for a lot of the community. You probably saw the natural hair movement along with that Good Hair movie. And that kind of started people on this path of figuring out ways to prevent some of that breakage from happening, whether that be with more natural hairstyles or just, better methods of moisturizing the hair or stretching the hair to keep it from breaking and allowing it to grow longer.
I,
Yeah.
I,
Hey, go ahead.
I have a question as well. But again, thanks for coming and joining us. You have that same passion you had when I met you a few months back at the health fair. How can barbers and hairstylists and dermatologists work together to support healthier hair practices in our community? And I'm asking that question. I asked my barber a question one day. I have a little thinning in the back. I said, now what can we do about this? Oh, Don't worry about it. He said, don't worry about it. And he just, I know every time I go to the barber shop now, I get shorter and shorter haircuts. So I said, what can we
Mhm.
do? What can we do
Yeah.
about this?
That's a really good question, and there's actually been some research and on that and how we could actually best improve those practices. What it all boils down to is just getting out into the community and actually creating those bonds and that connection to help the barbers and the other stylists know that there are hair loss disorders that exist in our communities, and that there are signs that they don't have to diagnose or things like that, but signs that they can be like, hey, I need you to go see a dermatologist because this is something that I talk with them about, and this could be something that could be treated, right? So just creating those close community bonds. And there's actually a lot of different groups now that are working with barbers and stylists specifically. It's through the Strand network. They have like a host of various dermatologists that go around to various cities talking to the stylists and barbers about different things and how to recognize hair loss in their patients, or not even their patients, but their customers, and to be able to know the resources in order to refer them to the dermatologist. So,
Thank you.
You listen to 103.5 FM WNHH. That's the station we're hoping that our listeners will tune into to get this valuable information. Before Pastor Clayton brought up the issue of the barber, I was going to just say, when we were talking about natural hair during the 70s, when it was fashionable to have what they call afros, and just to let your hair grow without any kind of, just let it be natural, and
mm-hmm.
40 years later, all the men are now bald with no hair, no natural anything. What happened to our black men and their hair? Because I'm thinking, I'm amazed that barbers are still in business, because most of the black men I know don't have any hair, and I don't know if they don't want any hair, or it's just as you age, does your hair naturally recede? I mean, how does that work?
Well, for men, I think it might be a little bit different. What we call androgenetic alopecia, which is a hormonal type of alopecia or just pattern baldness, happens commonly in just men in general. So that's when you start to see that thinning from the front going back and back and back, and then it's just all gone to the point where people just want to be bald. And so, I wouldn't say that there's any specific thing that caused that. It might just be people's preferences and how styles change. But male pattern baldness has existed for everyone, and it just affects people more so often than not, depending on your genetics and just your environmental stressors that can lead to those hair follicles receding.
And is there treatment for that?
Um,
Is there treatment for that?
Yeah, there is a lot of treatments. There's actually over-the-counter treatments for men. It's called Rogaine. That's something that they can do on their own. It's something that I don't have to prescribe. Just following the directions on that, and that can help with milder cases of the androgenetic alopecia. But if it's not helping, then dermatologists can be helpful with more oral medicines that can really get at those hormones that are leading to the hair loss. But for any type of hair loss, it's best to get at it sooner rather than later, because if you don't, those hair follicles starving of those nutrients eventually die. And so even though it might be something that could have been treatable years ago, it might not be treatable at this point.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. I've seen the gun. I've seen the machine that people put on their heads, and it has like little X-rays and red lights, and it's very expensive. It's like $800 or $900, and they tell them, or caps that they put on their head, and they say. And I've been to one dermatologist who in Tarrytown, New York, who was using that treatment like 25 years ago, and I kept thinking, is this going to cause cancer? Because when you see those electrical lights, like laser lights that are stimulating the, I guess, the follicles or the hair, Scalp. Is that a dangerous thing, you think?
I would say as long as you're using the ones that are FDA approved, then it's fine. There is no evidence to suggest that these cause cancer, especially it's at a different wavelength that of the actual wavelength that causes cancer. I don't particularly recommend them just because they're so expensive and how much hair growth you're going to get might be marginal compared to what to the cost of having to use that. But for my very gung-ho people that really want to try everything, I say, hey, if you want to give it a go, that's fine. There's some evidence for it. So as long as you're using the FDA approved ones.
All right. You've been involved in building mentorship and leadership pipelines. Why is mentorship so important in medicine?
It's huge. As I've gone, come from a background socioeconomically disadvantaged. I grew up very poor and in a public institution that wasn't the best. And I was able to go through my classes with people that were just smart. They were capable, but because of the various adversities that our community faces, they weren't able to reach the same heights as that I was able to because I had resources and mentorship. Because my mom was really focused on getting me a scholarship early when I was in sixth grade, and it gave me enrichment and something to look forward to, rather than just being like, what am I going to do, And that provided me the mentorship to say, okay, this is what you do if you want to be a doctor, right? But that was just by chance, it's just by chance my mom recognizing that I was a good student and that I could apply for this program, and I was just lucky enough to get it. I could have been just like anybody else, or somebody else could have been just like me. So it's really about the resources and mentorship that allows people to progress through the school years, because it's a very long time to become a doctor. Not just in high school, but 14 years on top of just going through high school. You have to be focused for that significant amount of time, and that doesn't come just by yourself, and we don't have that many people on the other side to really give us that mentorship. So that's why a lot of people aren't able to, get to that point. And if they do, it's through some very Herculean effort, right? And I also saw that throughout, my medicine years, where I saw, getting into certain specialties really requires certain mentorship and having somebody vouch for you. And if you don't have that social capital, or you're the single Black person or the single person of color, and in a community of other white persons, it can be very tough to develop those connections, or really know what people are talking about. Oh, I don't know what golfing is. I don't know what ski trips people are going on. And these are actual conversations that people are having while you're doing the medicine, and that makes a difference of a person wanting to talk to you more versus not really knowing how to talk to you. And that is huge. So we need more people of color in medicine to not only mentor, but to reach back even in the pre-K all the way throughout that pipeline to be able to help more people into the field.
Doc, I want you to do something for me. We have an exposures program at Yale, and my colleague was the author of that program. I want to just talk a little bit about that. It will tie in with what you just spoken with us a bit.
You want me to talk to her?
I sure do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Reverend Clayton and I, in the leadership portion of our being cultural ambassadors, we realized that one of the problems we had with seeing doctors instead of having primary care doctors, and this whole fear of doctors and medicine in America, was that we didn't see people who look like us in these institutions.
Yeah.
Not only in the schools of medicine, but also in the hospitals, and even in public schools. you can almost count the number of minority people, even though the population is more minority. Those who were doing the treatments and those who were doing the teaching were not. So we thought about if we could change the face of medicine by exposing young people early on to the fact that it's achievable.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's very important.
Yeah. And so this is like our 4th year, and we've had some amazing students and from all over the country and all over the world. Students who wanted to be cardiologists, brain doctors, dermatologists, and they come on and they meet other doctors and they meet other medical professionals and their peers. They all do a project together. We break them up into 4 groups, and it's just amazing. And they have been instrumental in working with like EQB Med and emergency medicine and making cancer understandable for young people.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a pathway.
Yeah, it's
That
a
leads
pathway.
to something, yeah. And so, you would be excellent for that. And I'm hoping that our members and our community people will see this show and be inspired by the fact that you look like you're in high school and you're a doctor.
Hey, it keeps you young. Not really, actually. It probably ages you. Yeah. No, but I would love to be a part of that program. That's the kind of work that I do. I did that throughout my career in medicine, because I knew what it took for me to get here. So I wanted to be a part of helping others get here too. So super important.
And it's interesting in our culture coming up, black women, our black girls did not have hair. Now you cannot find a black girl who doesn't have hair,
Yeah.
because they found the way of getting around that whole issue. And all of those stereotypes, the pickaninnies, the nappy hair, and all of that is gone. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you look at Beyonce, you look at these women now in acting and even in our community. I don't know a black woman who doesn't have long hair. And I'm jealous because my hair, I can't get it to be that long. I wish I could grow dreads or something and maybe that would work. But it's amazing how adversity can bring us to our to discover new ways.
Mm-hmm.
It helps. It's like the mother of invention, And
Yeah.
so we invent. I have a niece who does hair. She makes money doing hair.
Mm-hmm.
She's not even a dermatologist, but she can put some glue on and some hair on and some weaves on and some extensions and charge and make money. Probably as much money as you would make doing a regular job. So it's a lot of money in hair.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the most important aspects of our self-esteem is our hair. If our hair doesn't feel good, look good, we don't feel good. That's just a very common thing within the Black community as a whole. We're very tied to our hair. It's very spiritual, very community based, and that's kind of traveled with us from even Africa to here. Um, yeah, it's very important to us for sure.
One of our classmates, Reverend Clayton, and I, Sharon Gatlin, who teaches at A&T, one of her students was going through cancer. And so what she did was she shaved off her hair.
Yeah.
So that she could be in solidarity.
Yeah.
And I know there are people who do shave hair for cancer patients,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if there's a difference between synthetic hair and human hair for Black women. I think that might be a question. Is there a danger in any of these hair products for these young people?
That's actually a really good question.
Just hold that thought for 1 second. We want to thank our listeners for tuning in. You're listening to YCCI Community Health Watch on WNHH 103.5 FM.
All right, Doc.
All right now.
Well, really great question, because there's a lot of, research coming out talking about what we call endocrine disruptors, which are present in a lot of the products, especially marketed to Black women, more so than the products marketed to white women. And a lot of these endocrine disruptors have been shown to, increase the time to when you first start your menstrual cycle, or have breast enlargement, and just a lot of different things that affect the hormones. And there's some evidence to suggest that it could even be linked to a lot of the gynecologic malignancies in some cases too. Not enough to say for sure, but there is some growing body of work that's saying that there's something that's going on there. So it's very important for us to really deep dive into this, because so many Black women are using these products, are using a lot of these different things on a regular basis. And we are already seeing, people are, linking this to like, okay, Black women have high rates of breast cancer, or, all these different types of cancer. Is there a connection there? I don't know, but that's something to really look into. And there was also something that recently came out about synthetic hair having a lot of these chemicals in there too. There's more research that needs to be done, but I definitely think it's something to really have on our radar, because there could be potential problems there that we just don't know about.
Yeah, but when some of my younger members, mothers would take their daughters and get them, we call it concholine, or get these, what do you call it when they,
What?
concholine is what, that was one of the words, but I know what it is. It's when they treat the hair when they're real young, or, to make your hair straight or whatever.
Oh, like a perm? Yeah.
Yeah. So how should parents be concerned about the age to start such, to maybe give their kids a perm?
So there's no actual evidence to say if it's good or if it's not good, but just based on my experience alone and just, treating hair loss, I personally think that has an effect on the psyche, first of all. If you're doing these perms and, relaxers at a young age, it's teaching us to not love our hair, at that early age. And that can really affect our psyche and how we look at ourselves and how we feel about ourselves. So based off of that alone, I would say that's not something that I would recommend for children whatsoever. But just based off of the possibilities from the perms themselves, there's possibility of chemical burns, there's a possibility of hair loss, and all these different scarring things that can happen that really should be avoided in someone so young. Because these things could be permanent, and we don't know enough about the science to say if this is absolutely 100% no potential issues that could arise in the future. So for me, I say I would not recommend these types of chemicals for younger patients. But do people use them still? That's what the parents have to, sometimes parents, I'm not shaming any parents at all, because that's what my mom did. She didn't have anything else she could do with my hair. And, we don't have the right products. We don't have the right tools to take care of our hair. Then, it seems like the only solution is to relax the hair a lot of the time, So it's understandable, but I do implore, parents to take another look and say, what are some other things that we could do, especially in this day and age where we have so much more knowledge about natural hair products and things to, keep the hair moisturized and under control without it having to be permed.
Are they FDA approved?
They are FDA approved, but there's research still coming out every day that is linking it to either fibroids or X, Y, and Z. So has there been enough research to say that these things are 100% should not be used? No. But have they even ever done, when have they ever done enough research on Black women to be able to say anything, So given that history, I think we should be cautious. But am I saying not to use it? No, this is just my personal opinion.
I would think, and this is just my opinion, and I would think that if you are going to use those products, you should follow directions as written.
Yes.
And if And you should also probably be better, especially when children, have a professional to do it.
Yes.
Because, like you said earlier, you don't know if it does cause damage or if it will cause some type of illness later down the road. So, but at least follow the directions as
Mhm.
able.
And
So,
oh, sorry.
no,
No,
go
I was just
right
going to
ahead.
say, we do know that it causes damage for sure. So it weakens the hair strand, and so you're more likely to have breakage and things like that. So it does damage the hair for sure. So that, based off of that, is it's something to think about. But for women, I have no problem with folks that come in and they're getting their hair perm. I'm more so talking about like our younger patients. But if women, like older women, want to have their perms or whatever types of hairstyles they want to do, that's fine. I don't say you should not have this or anything else. I just say natural might be better for our goals in retaining your hair and helping with your the type of hair loss that you're having.
Yeah, I think that Reverend Clayton has hit on something with regards to safety. And in all forms of treatment of the hair, it seems that there is, you can take vitamins, hair vitamins, but you can overtake the amount of hair vitamins. You can take
Yeah.
vitamins that are not effective or not maybe good for you in particular, but maybe for a wide audience or for some other groups. So, I mean, that's one of the concerns I think most parents are willing to risk. And
hmm
maybe most women are because of vanity. I'm just throwing that out. Are,
I mean, we've had the perm since the 1950s, I would say, and people have seen people do fine with perms for all this time. So it's in our psyche that we don't have perms for years and years and years, and it hasn't been that big of an issue. So that's why I think people are more so okay with it. But as we get more evidence and more research in the future, maybe we can be able to say more definitively which way to go with these. It's just
yeah, I
that we
mean,
just don't know enough right now.
yeah, I remember old school was Duke hair products and Vaseline, and it was less chemical products that people were putting in their hair. And I don't know today what people are putting in there. Your hair looks amazing.
Oh,
I don't know if
thanks.
you've got some recommendations for people who want to have hair that looks as curly and as fresh as yours. But I think the problem is that there's not enough education about it. And we don't have really solid academic recommendations that we can give to members of our churches and members in our community about which way to go. And, you know, not everybody listens to everybody. So we're hoping that today, folk who are listening on this station, 103.5 WNHA, will hear from an expert and maybe say, you know what? Maybe we need to go, we need to check out our dermatologist. And here's the other thing I wanted to say, because of the social determinants of health, Black people don't seemingly have that luxury or cash cow that allows them to see a dermatologist. I
Yeah.
mean, it's expensive. I'm sure your schooling has made this your practice, and every dermatologist, not just you, but every
hmm
specialist, it's more money, right? And if you don't
Yeah.
have medical insurance, how would a person get to see you?
Yeah. I unfortunately I'm not able to see people without insurance. I do see people in a free clinic, but that's usually for folks that don't have insurance and have medical issues, not really just for hair loss in general. So it's really tough for folks without insurance to see me. But it is medically indicated. So it's not something like, with Medicaid and Medicare, they cannot say no to that. It's just they might want you to see a specific dermatologist within your network, and it might take months and months and months for you to be seen. But if you have hair loss, that's a medically indicated reason to have a dermatologist. So it just might be a matter of time and effort and potential co-pays in order to see one, unfortunately. And unfortunately too, a lot of the time some dermatologists don't even take Medicaid. And so some of them are cash pay or take private insurance, especially because there's such issues with that side of things, just getting reimbursed for seeing people. So it makes it even harder for folks like without it to see folks like me.
Yeah. You know, I have an ophthalmologist in New York, and when I moved to Connecticut, I was out of network. And so he didn't take my insurance, but I've been seeing him for at least 10 years. And so I just pay him when I just pay him out of pocket because
Mm-hmm.
I'm just so impressed with his skills and ability. I wish there was a way that we could help those who are less fortunate to be able to. And I think that having you on the show helps us to at least point to the fact that there are cases when you really need to see one.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't ask, you don't receive.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just take, take it for granted. Well, I don't think I'm eligible. But
Yeah.
if you don't have somebody
Ask.
who is, yeah, you gotta ask.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'm going to go somewhere where I probably shouldn't go, but
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I'm going to go there. Now, uh, you mentioned earlier, Dr. Perry, that your niece makes a nice piece of change doing hair. Most of our sisters' hair is done, and I know they're not getting these hairdos for free,
Hey,
and I know they're not getting it at a discount anywhere. So, if a person is willing to pay to get the cover up or get the hair done, why can't they skip a hairdo, a hair appointment, and go see a dermatologist to get to the root to a problem?
Can I answer that for you?
Hmm?
It's because our hair is just that much more important to us. That our day-to-day life and our day-to-day how we see ourselves and how people perceive us is so much more important than this slowly progressing hair loss that you kind of start to see a little bit of hair loss here, see a little bit of hair loss there, and it might not be that big of a deal until like maybe 15, 20 years down the line, which is when a lot of the people come and see me 15, 20 years down the line. So our
I'm not laughing.
everyday.
Someone just sent me a note.
Mhm.
Someone just sent me a note.
Oh, well, like our everyday is so much more important than the long term of whatever X, Y, and Z is happening. So it's just human nature. It's nothing to say one way or another. There's things that every community looks at and at the present versus the long term, and they miss out on things too.
you see, I think that, where medical science fails is that it's like precision medicine when we talk about specialists. So, for example, you need a referral in some cases, and in some cases, if you have money, you don't even need a referral because you have money. You can just go and see you want to see. But I'm thinking in terms of education, like in my world's view, a cosmetologist or a barber ought to be able to say, you know what, you need to see a specialist. I'm looking at Reverend Clayton's hair, and I'm seeing this bald spot, and I'm seeing these little red beads back here. I don't know what they are, but I'm a barber, but I know I can't handle it. But I know that if he were to take this to a dermatologist, and I think that would be the way. Those kind of recommendations ought to be as valid as anybody's recommendation. And so maybe if through education, through the school.
Absolutely, education.
Yeah.
It's a matter of education, bringing people together, the barber and the stylist community together, and just getting some education for them so they can recognize these things.
Do you see a beautician?
I do. I do.
Yeah. My father was a barber, and he used to cut our hairs. He had a pair of clippers, and then he showed us how to cut our brothers' hairs.
Hmm.
So you can't mess up. It's all in the family. You can't sue anybody.
Yeah.
Messed up is messed up. But everybody sees somebody for that kind of attention. And I think that's important. It's almost like um, just natural health. It's like, is this growing up healthy to know you just can't let your hair not be unwashed or
Hmm.
to allow dandruff or all these other things
Mhm.
to affect you.
Yeah.
But you not only see people with hair because you're a dermatologist. Your field is so broad. I looked up all the things that you guys
Mhm.
can do, and I was just amazed.
Yeah.
I mean, hair is not the just one area, but you got so many other areas that I'm sure people come to see you about, right?
That's where my primary practice is just general dermatology, from any kinds of rashes to any kinds of bumps to any kinds of anything that end up on the skin,
Can you
or
share with
even the
us?
nails.
Can you share with us about those moles or those things that grow on people's faces?
Yeah. So
Or,
we
will you?
call those Morgan Freeman spots. So yeah, because you've seen Morgan Freeman and he has the dots on his face too, but it's very common in our community. It's a type of growth. It's almost similar to what we call a seborrheic keratosis in more predominantly white patients, but the DPNs are just a little bit different and they're just a little bit smaller and they end up on your face or on your neck. It's a sign of genetics, and sometimes even the sun can bring them out too. But they're completely benign. There are things that you can do about them too. Like if you do want them removed, that's possible.
Really?
But in most cases, I tell people, it's just something. It's benign. You don't have to do anything. But if people are really pressed about having them removed, then that's something we can do.
I
But
had a
it's a cosmetic thing, so it's not something that insurance pays for.
I had a dermatologist in New York, and I had a couple of moles and she says, "Don't touch them." She said, "I don't recommend it." She said, "Because she said personally, she thought messing with them may bring about some kind of cancer. But so she said, like you said, they're benign, so just leave them alone." And
Mm-hmm.
and then you have these drops that people have that they put on for these tags. I've seen.
I know nothing about those, so yeah,
Really?
use at your own risk. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, because I didn't know what people who had tags what they did with them because I only seen them on the commercials where they said we'll put this on and I guess it dries it up and then they just rub them off. But I don't know. How is cancer in your field? Do you see
Yeah.
people? You do?
Yeah, we see a ton of cancer, more predominantly in our lighter skinned patients. Things like basal cell, squamous cell, and melanoma are the main types of skin cancer that we see. But in specific to communities with skin of color, there's oftentimes a higher morbidity and mortality that comes with a lot of these skin cancers, meaning that people are more likely to die or have a lot of complications associated with their skin cancers when people of color actually do have them. So they don't get it out as often, but when it does happen, there's a lot more issues that come about with it. And that's mainly because we don't have a lot of ability to recognize those different types of skin cancers that happen in our community. A lot of time there's not enough education. And also, like we were talking about earlier, people aren't able to get to the dermatologist to have that taken a look at. And it's not until months and years down the line that they get something seen. But also, finally, there is a different presentation for a lot of the skin cancers and communities of color that is only just now being, something that people are really recognizing in the literature and research to say, okay, these are the differences, and this is how you should look for it. Specifically, in regards to melanoma, most of the time it's something we call acral lentiginous melanoma, which is a type of skin cancer that affects the hands, the palms of the hands, the nails, the genital areas where there's mucosal linings, and in the mouth, and the bottoms of the feet and the nails too. That's where a lot of the time that these cancers show up in our Black and brown patients. So something to consider. And one of the myths that people have is that Black people don't get skin cancer, but it's still possible to get skin cancer, especially if you burn a lot in the sun. Um, but it's something that we need to recognize.
Ooh, we're down to about 90 seconds.
We're so thankful that you could be with us. Boy, we could take this another hour.
I know.
When you said the lighter skin, and I looked at Reverend Clayton and myself, I said, I'm more in danger than my brother. But no.
You sure are.
So wear your sunscreen. Definitely wear your sunscreen for sure. It's helpful for anti-aging as well.
Listen,
Thank you again. Thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's been a joy. It's been informative, and we appreciate you greatly for sharing with us. And I know that our listening audience appreciate it as well.
Yeah, and if anybody ever wants to come see me, that I'm always available.
You got an address real quick?
Well, I'm in New
Brantford,
Haven.
right?
Yeah, I can always give it to you guys. I'm in Brantford and I'm in the New Haven office, so it's just a matter of setting up an appointment with Yale Dermatology.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
You're listening to the Community Health Watch Show on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, your home for community radio. Stay informed, stay connected, and take charge of your health. We'll see you again next time.